Welcome to our special feature on the best photos of World War II. In this collection of powerful images, we witness moments of courage, sacrifice, and hope that defined an era. Get ready to embark on a visual journey through the most striking and emotional moments of this historic conflict. Subscribe now and join us on this journey through history. In 1940, the German military initiated Operation Fall Gelb, also known as the Case Yellow. This was a pivotal phase of World War II, marking Germany's aggressive expansion westward. The operation began on May 10, 1940, and involved a swift and brutal invasion of neutral countries Holland, Netherlands, and Belgium. This strategic move was part of a larger Nazi strategy to circumvent the formidable Maginot Line, a series of fortifications along the French-German border, and to strike France by advancing through these less heavily defended countries. The invasion utilized blitzkrieg tactics, which emphasized rapid movement, surprise attacks, and coordinated operations between the Air Force and ground troops. The Luftwaffe played a crucial role, gaining air superiority and disrupting enemy communications and logistics, while ground forces employed fast-moving tanks and infantry to encircle and overwhelm the defenders. The neutral status of Holland and Belgium made the invasion particularly shocking on the international stage, breaching diplomatic norms and provoking widespread condemnation. Despite their neutrality, both countries had been preparing for the possibility of German aggression, but they were ill-equipped to withstand the speed and ferocity of the blitzkrieg. The fall of Holland and Belgium was rapid, with Dutch forces capitulating within 5 days and Belgium surrendering after 18 days. The success of Operation Fall Gelb allowed German forces to outflank the French and British armies, leading to significant Allied losses and setting the stage for the eventual occupation of France. This historical event not only demonstrated the effectiveness of blitzkrieg, but also highlighted the aggressive nature of Nazi military strategy, reshaping the geopolitical landscape of Europe and setting a grim tone for the years that followed during the war. The MXY-7 Oka Model 11, captured at Yantan Airfield in Okinawa in April 1945, represents one of the most extreme implementations of kamikaze tactics by the Japanese military during World War II. The Oka, meaning cherry blossom, was a rocket-powered, piloted aircraft designed explicitly for suicide missions against Allied naval vessels. The design of the Oka Model 11 was simple yet deadly. It was a small, rocket-powered aircraft equipped with a 1,200 kilograms warhead. The aircraft had no landing gear. Instead, it was carried underneath a mother plane, typically a Mitsubishi G4M bomber. Once within range of its target, the Oka would be released, its pilot would ignite the rocket engines, and it would accelerate towards its target at speeds exceeding 400 miles per hour. This high speed made it very difficult for anti-aircraft guns to shoot it down before reaching its target. The use of the Oka began in the latter stages of the war as American naval forces came closer to the Japanese home islands. The Oka's deployment was a desperate measure reflecting Japan's precarious situation, aiming to inflict maximum damage and slow the American advance. However, despite its potential for destruction, the Oka had limited success in combat. Many were shot down or failed to reach their targets due to the vulnerability of the mother planes to Allied fighter attacks. The capture of an Oka aircraft provided valuable intelligence to the Allies. It demonstrated the lengths to which Japan was willing to go and the innovations they were employing in the war effort. The capture at Yantan Airfield was significant not only from a military intelligence perspective, but also symbolically, as it underscored the desperation and declining capability of the Japanese military late in the war. This rare and unique weapon of war highlights a dark and desperate strategy employed by Japan, showcasing the intense and brutal nature of the Pacific theater in World War II. The iconic photograph raising a flag over the Reichstag captures a profoundly symbolic moment at the end of World War II. Taken during the Battle of Berlin on May 2, 1945, this image represents not only a military victory but also a significant historical turning point. The photograph shows Soviet soldiers hoisting the red flag of the Soviet Union atop the Reichstag, the German parliament building, signaling the imminent defeat of Nazi Germany. The Reichstag had been a symbol of German governance and, during the Nazi era, of Adolf Hitler's regime. Capturing it was strategically and symbolically vital for the Soviet forces. The photograph was taken by Yevgeny Kaldiy, a Soviet war photographer who used a large flag sewn from tablecloths for this purpose, ensuring it would be visible against the Berlin skyline. The photo was staged to maximize its impact as a propaganda tool. It was intended to evoke the famous image of U.S. Marines raising the American flag on Iwo Jima. The battle to capture Berlin itself was brutal and intense. Soviet forces had encircled the city and were pushing through with overwhelming numbers and firepower. The photo was taken in a context of immense destruction and loss of life, as Berlin had been bombarded continuously during the final weeks of the war. Raising a flag over the Reichstag quickly became one of the most enduring images of World War II. It symbolized the Soviet Union's role in defeating Nazi Germany and was used extensively in Soviet propaganda to bolster national pride and the legitimacy of the Soviet regime. For historians and the public alike, the image remains a powerful reminder of the ferocity of the Battle of Berlin and the broader conflict of World War II. On October 25, 1944, a powerful yet serene image was captured of men from the 4th Welsh Regiment as they meticulously cleaned their weapons outside Hertogenbosch in the Netherlands. This moment provides a window into the daily realities and routines of soldiers during World War II, particularly within the context of Operation Market Garden and the subsequent efforts to secure key locations in the Netherlands from German control. The 4th Welsh Regiment, part of the British Army, was known for its valor and discipline. The cleaning of weapons is a fundamental and crucial task in military operations, ensuring that firearms function properly and reliably, especially after enduring the harsh conditions of battle. This routine maintenance was vital for the effectiveness and safety of the soldiers. Hertogenbosch, often referred to as Hertogenbosch, was a strategic objective during the later stages of World War II because of its position and infrastructure, which included road and rail networks critical for both German and Allied movements. The city had been under German occupation since 1940, and its liberation was key to securing southern Netherlands and improving the Allied logistical capabilities in the region. The operation to liberate Hertogenbosch involved intense urban combat, which made the reliability of a soldier's weapon even more critical. The photograph of the 4th Welsh Regiment cleaning their weapons not only highlights the everyday diligence required in warfare, but also serves as a poignant reminder of the brief moments of calm amidst the chaos of conflict. In May 1945, during the Battle of Okinawa, a deeply moving and personal moment was captured in a photograph that has since resonated across generations. U.S. Marine Colonel Francis Fenton conducting the funeral of his son, Private First Class Mike Fenton. This event took place near Shuri, Okinawa, a location that was central to one of the most intense and prolonged battles of the Pacific Theater during World War II. Colonel Francis Fenton, a seasoned officer, found himself in the heartbreaking position of overseeing the burial of his young son, who had been killed in action. This poignant moment starkly illustrates the personal sacrifices and emotional toll of war, not just on the battlefront, but extending deeply into the lives and families of those involved. Private First Class Mike Fenton served under the same harsh conditions and fierce enemy resistance that characterized the entire Okinawa campaign. The battle itself, which lasted from April to June 1945, was pivotal for the Allies. It aimed to secure a position close to mainland Japan, from which they could launch further operations and potentially bring an end to the war in the Pacific. The funeral image is powerful, a father in his role as a colonel, surrounded by fellow Marines, all bearing witness to the dual role he had to play not only as a commanding officer but also as a grieving parent. The presence of his fellow Marines underscores the brotherhood and the shared burden of war, where personal loss becomes a collective experience. In 1945, near the village of Consulis in Italy, an innovative military tactic was captured in action as kangaroos, which were repurposed Canadian Armored Personnel Carriers, APCs, ferried infantry into the thick of battle. This marked a significant evolution in armored warfare and infantry tactics during World War II. The term kangaroo referred to any tank chassis that had been converted into an armored personnel carrier. Initially, these vehicles were standard tanks with their turrets removed, allowing space for carrying troops. The conversion provided a solution to a pressing issue on the battlefield: how to move infantry quickly and safely across exposed terrain under enemy fire. The Canadian forces were pioneers in this concept, modifying redundant tank hulls to create what were effectively the first APCs. The battle near Consolis is a prime example of these kangaroos in action. By this point in the war, the Italian campaign had become a brutal slog through difficult terrain, including mountains, rivers, and heavily fortified German defensive lines. Mobility and infantry protection were paramount. The use of kangaroos allowed the infantry to stay protected until they reached their deployment points, minimizing casualties from enemy fire during movement. This method of troop transport was particularly crucial in the terrain around Consolis, a village situated in the Po Valley of northern Italy, an area known for its flat and open countryside, which offered little natural cover from the probing fire of German defenses. The APCs enabled Canadian and other Allied infantry units to maneuver more effectively, maintaining the momentum of their advance during the final stages of the Italian campaign. During the invasion of Poland in September 1939, which marked the onset of World War II in Europe, one of the formidable weapons deployed by the German forces was the railway gun. These massive artillery pieces, mounted on specially designed train cars, were a striking example of military engineering and firepower. Railway guns were designed to deliver extraordinarily large shells over long distances, a capability that traditional field artillery couldn't match. Due to their size and the logistics involved in their deployment, these weapons were used primarily for sieging fortified positions and cities or for long-range bombardment of strategic targets. The use of railway guns in the invasion of Poland demonstrated Germany's military strategy that integrated advanced technology and swift mobility, infamously known as Blitzkrieg or Lightning War. In the context of the invasion, the railway guns were particularly effective due to Poland's relatively flat terrain and extensive rail network, which allowed for the relatively easy movement and positioning of these heavy weapons. The psychological impact of such enormous guns was also significant, as they were intended to instill fear and help achieve rapid victory through shock and awe. The operation of a railway gun required a well-coordinated crew, often numbering dozens of soldiers, who handled everything from loading the massive ammunition to calculating precise firing coordinates and adjusting the gun's aim. The process of setting up and firing a railway gun was labor-intensive and time-consuming, necessitating the clearing and reinforcement of regular rail lines to accommodate the gun's immense weight and recoil. In 1944, the Polish 1st Armored Division, equipped with British Covenanter and Crusader tanks, was a formidable force stationed in Britain, preparing for the critical roles it would later play in the liberation of Europe. This fact highlights a significant chapter in the cooperation between Polish forces and the Allies, particularly the British, during World War II. The Polish 1st Armored Division was formed in February 1942 under the command of General Stanislaw Maczek. It was composed of soldiers who had escaped Poland after its occupation by Germany and the Soviet Union in 1939, as well as Polish expatriates from other parts of the world. The division was equipped with British tanks, including the Covenanter and the Crusader, as part of the British support to Polish forces in exile. The Covenanter was primarily used for training purposes within the UK due to its mechanical reliability issues and the fact that it was considered obsolete by 1944. On the other hand, the Crusader was a more combat-worthy vehicle, seeing extensive service in the North African campaign. It was faster and more heavily armed than the Covenanter, making it more suitable for combat roles. In 1944, these tanks were integral to the division's training and preparation for Operation Overlord, the Allied invasion of Normandy. The Polish 1st Armored Division was known for its high morale and excellent training, and it played a crucial role in several key battles following the D-Day landings, including the closing of the Falaise Pocket, a decisive action that led to the destruction of much of Germany's forces in Normandy.